Twin garbage collectors save abandoned baby without knowing he's a billionaire's son. What happens next is unbelievable. The first ray of sun cut through the morning mist and entered the shack through the window without glass. Monica opened her eyes and immediately felt the familiar pain in her stomach, a pain that had been with her for days, ever since her last cleaning job ended. She looked to the side and saw her twin daughters still sleeping on the thin mattress they shared with her. Emily had her arm protectively over Grace, as she always did since they were babies. At 5 years old, both had already learned to take care of each other in a way that broke Monica's heart. 30 years. Sometimes Monica wondered where she had gone wrong, how she had reached that point. But thoughts like that didn't fill bellies, and the girls' bellies had rumbled all night long. Monica got up slowly, trying not to make noise. Her bare feet touched the cold, packed dirt floor. She went to the corner that served as a kitchen, a makeshift stove made with bricks and 2 broken burners. She opened the sugar can she used as a pantry, empty. She opened the old refrigerator that made a deafening noise, almost empty. Only half a glass of sour milk and a 3-day-old piece of stale bread remained. There was nothing for breakfast. Monica leaned against the wall and closed her eyes for a moment. She knew that feeling, the mix of despair and determination that overcame her when she didn't know where the next meal would come from. But she had 2 daughters depending on her. She couldn't allow herself to give up. "Mom," Emily's sleepy voice brought her back to reality. Monica turned and saw her daughter sitting up on the mattress, rubbing her eyes. Emily always woke up first. She was 2 minutes older than Grace and seemed to carry the weight of that responsibility since she was born. "Good morning, love," Monica said, trying to sound normal. "I'm hungry," Emily said, touching her own stomach. Monica felt her chest tighten. "I know, little one." Grace began to stir, slowly waking up. She opened her little eyes and looked around as if she needed to remember where she was. "Good morning, sleepyhead," Emily said, gently poking her sister. "I'm hungry too," Grace murmured, still drowsy. Monica took a deep breath. She looked at her daughters and made a decision. "Girls, you'll have to go out early today." "Alone?" Emily asked, already knowing what it was about. "Alone. I'm going to look for work today. There's a lady who might need a cleaner." The girls exchanged glances. It wasn't the first time. In recent months, this routine had become common. Emily and Grace would go out to collect garbage while Monica looked for work. "Are we going to the market?" Grace asked. "Yes, you are, and remember the rules." Monica went to the makeshift cabinet made of wooden crates and took out 4 plastic bags, 2 for each girl, 1 for recyclables, 1 for food. "Do you remember what to look for?" Monica asked. "Cans, plastic bottles, paper," Emily said. "And food that's still good," Grace added. "That's right, and the most important thing. Watch out for sharp things," both said in unison. "Broken glass, sharp metal, needles," Emily enumerated. "Don't stick your hand in without looking first," Grace added. Monica smiled. Her 5-year-old daughters knew safety rules that no child their age should need to know. "Sad if someone asks anything. We're helping Mom," Emily said. "And don't accept anything from strangers," Grace said. "Very good. Now put on your least dirty clothes and don't forget your flip-flops." The girls got up and started getting ready. Emily helped Grace put on a blouse that was a little too big. Grace helped Emily comb her hair with her fingers. Monica grabbed a half-filled water bottle and gave it to Emily. "Share this, and don't stay in the sun too long." "We know, Mom," Emily said, putting the bottle in one of the bags. "What time do we come back?" Grace asked. "When the sun is high, around noon." Monica knelt down to her daughters. "Height. Take care of each other, okay?" "Emily, you're the oldest." "Only by 2 minutes," Grace protested. "But you're older," Monica said. "And Grace, you obey your sister." "Okay." Monica kissed both their foreheads. "Go with God and be very careful." The girls left the shack when the sun was still low in the sky. Monica stood at the door watching them walk away down the dirt road, 2 small figures carrying bags almost their size. Emily held Grace's hand. "Where are we going first?" "To the market on Main Street. It's Monday. They always put out garbage early on Mondays." They walked for 20 minutes through increasingly busy streets. Emily knew the schedules and habits Monica had taught them. She knew which markets had more recyclables, which threw away still usable food. "Look." Grace pointed to several large bags leaning against the back wall of a supermarket. "There's a lot here." Emily quickly looked around. The street was empty. "Let's see what's inside." They approached the bags. Emily opened the first one and peered inside, being careful not to stick her hand in without looking. "There are some plastic bottles here," Emily said, "and some cans." Grace opened another bag. "There's food here, fruits that are just bruised." Emily examined the fruits Grace had found. "This apple is good, just bruised on one side." She carefully cut off the bruised part and gave the rest to Grace, who took a big bite. "It's sweet," Grace said, smiling. Emily picked another apple for herself and continued rummaging. She found 2 bananas that were only dark on the outside, some carrots that were still firm. "How lucky," Emily murmured, imitating what she always heard her mother say. Grace was separating plastic bottles into a bag. "How many bottles do we need to trade for money?" "Many. But every bottle helps." Emily found some empty soda cans. "These are worth more than the bottles." "Why?" "Because they're metal. Mr. John pays better for metal." They continued rummaging through the bags for a few more minutes. Grace found bread that was stale but still edible. Emily found a package of cookies within their expiration date. "Mom will be happy," Grace said. Emily was rummaging through a third bag when she suddenly stopped. "Grace, what is it?" "I hear a strange noise." Grace stopped separating the bottles and paid attention. For a few seconds, she only heard the sound of cars passing on the street in front. Then she heard it too, a soft, faint cry, almost like a kitten's meow, but different. "It's a baby," Grace whispered. Emily dropped the bag she was searching. "A baby? Where's—" The crying was coming from somewhere nearby, but they couldn't pinpoint exactly where. "Let's look," Emily said. They followed the sound, walking slowly around the area where the garbage bags were. The crying seemed to come from behind a pile of empty cardboard boxes leaning against the side wall of the market. "It's from there," Grace said, pointing. Emily approached the boxes carefully. "You have to be careful, there might be sharp things." But the crying was louder now, more urgent. Grace was the first to see. "Emily, there's a baby here!" Emily ran to where Grace was pointing and felt her heart pound. Among the cardboard boxes, half hidden as if someone had tried to protect it, was a newborn baby. A real baby. Very small, probably only a few days old. It was wrapped in an old dirty blanket, crying softly as if it didn't have enough strength. Its skin was reddish, and it was visibly shivering from the cold. "My God," Emily whispered, kneeling beside the baby. "Is it really a baby?" Grace asked, her eyes wide. "Yes, it is. A little boy." Grace knelt on the other side. "So what is he here alone?" Emily quickly looked around. The street was still empty. Who had done that? Who was capable of abandoning a newborn in the trash? "Someone left him here," Emily said, feeling a rage she didn't know she had. "But why?" Grace had tears in her eyes. "I don't know. But we can't leave him here." The baby continued to cry, but weakly, as if giving up. Emily reached out her hands, hesitated for a second, remembering her mother's warnings about being careful, then picked him up with all the care in the world. The baby was too light, too small. The blanket smelled bad and was damp, but Emily didn't care. The moment she held that little creature in her arms, something inside her awakened, an instinct of protection she didn't know she had. The baby stopped crying as soon as he felt the warmth of Emily's body. He opened his little eyes, small, dark, scared, and stared at her as if he knew he was now safe. "Hi, little one," Emily whispered, imitating the way Monica talked to small children. He stopped crying, Grace observed, impressed. "He was cold," Emily said. and scared too. Grace carefully touched the baby's tiny hand. He's so tiny. Emily quickly examined the baby. He seemed healthy, just weakened. He needed food, warmth, care. Is he hungry? Grace asked. I think so, and thirsty too. Emily looked at the baby, then at Grace, then at the empty street. Her 5-year-old mind worked quickly, trying to decide what to do. We have to take him to Mom, Emily said. Will she let us? Grace asked. Emily remembered all the times Monica had helped other people. Sick neighbors, lost children, anyone who needed it. Her mother always said that helping those in need was the most important thing. She will. Mom has a good heart. So, are we going home? Emily looked at the baby again. He had closed his eyes and seemed to be trying to sleep in her arms. Yes, but first, let's gather the things we found. Mom will need to trade them for money. Quickly, the girls gathered the plastic bottles, cans, fruits, and bread they had set aside. Grace carried the 4 bags, while Emily carried the baby, shielding him from the morning wind with her own body. Does he have a name? Grace asked during the walk. I don't know. How will we know? Then can we give him a name? Emily thought. Let's ask Mom. Throughout the walk back, the baby remained quiet in Emily's arms. Sometimes he would open his eyes and look at her, as if trying to understand who that girl was who had saved him. Mom will be surprised, and Grace said. She will, but she'll take care of him. She always takes care of everyone. When they arrived home, Monica hadn't yet returned from looking for work. Emily carefully placed the baby on the bed and went to heat water in a small pot. Are we going to give him a bath? Grace asked. Yes. Mom always says a clean child is healthier. Emily bathed the baby in a plastic basin with all the care she could muster. He cried a little when he felt the warm water, but calmed down when Emily started talking softly to him. There, little one, now you're clean. The baby was visibly better after the bath. His skin was no longer reddish, and he seemed more alert. Emily wrapped him in a clean towel and improvised a bed in a sturdy cardboard box they had kept, lining it with the softest cloths she found. When Monica arrived home 2 hours later, she found a scene that left her speechless. Emily and Grace sitting on the floor next to a box taking care of a newborn baby. Mom! Grace shouted, seeing Monica at the door. We found a baby! Monica dropped her bag and ran to them. What is this? Where did this baby come from? Someone left him in the trash, Emily explained. He was crying, alone. We couldn't leave him there. Monica knelt beside the box and looked at the baby, who was sleeping peacefully. He was clean, seemed well cared for. So did you give him a bath? Yes, we did, Emily said proudly. And he liked it. Monica felt a mix of emotions, surprise, concern, but mainly a maternal instinct she recognized. We can't leave him here, Monica said, picking up the baby. Why not? Grace asked. He has no one else. Monica looked at her daughters, then at the baby in her arms. They were right. That baby was alone in the world, abandoned like trash. If no one is looking for him, Grace said hopefully, can he be our brother? Monica looked away from her daughters, but continued holding the baby as if he were her own. That little creature had found its way to them in an unlikely way, but perhaps it wasn't a coincidence. In the midst of utter scarcity, love had found a way to grow, and Monica knew that no matter what happened, they would take care of that baby like real family, because sometimes the purest affection is born exactly where you least expect it. 3 days had passed since they found the baby. Monica looked at the last piece of bread left and divided it into 4 parts. 3 small ones for her and the girls, an even smaller one to soften in the baby's milk. Mom, aren't you going to eat? Emily asked, seeing that Monica only took a tiny slice. I already ate, Monica lied, giving the larger pieces to her daughters. Grace bit the bread slowly, making it last. What about him? She pointed to the baby sleeping in the box. He'll eat after he wakes up. Monica mashed the small piece of bread in the warm milk and put it in a small bowl. It wasn't much, but it would be enough for 2 more bottles. The baby was eating little at a time, but frequently. Emily approached the makeshift box. The baby slept peacefully, breathing softly. In the past few days, his skin color had improved. He wasn't so pale anymore. He's bigger, Emily observed. He is, Monica agreed. He's recovering. Grace knelt beside the box. Can I hold him? You can, but be careful. Grace lifted the baby with all the care a 5-year-old could manage. He opened his little eyes and stared at her without crying. Hi, little one. Did you sleep well? The baby made a soft gurgle, as if trying to answer. Grace smiled. I think he likes it when we talk to him. Monica watched the scene. In 3 days, the girls had transformed into dedicated older sisters. They helped with everything, changing makeshift diapers, preparing bottles, rocking the baby when he cried. Mom, Emily said, he needs a real name. Monica sighed. Giving him a name would make everything more real, more definite. But the girls were right. What names did you think of? Miguel, Grace said immediately, because it's pretty. Or Gabriel, Emily suggested, like the angel. Monica looked at the baby in Grace's arms. He was awake, looking up with curiosity. It was incredible how he had changed in just 3 days. He no longer looked like that scared little creature they found in the trash. Gabriel is a beautiful name, Monica said, protective angel. So his name will be Gabriel? Grace asked, excited. For now, Monica replied. The baby, Gabriel, began to cry softly. Grace rocked him gently. He's hungry, isn't he? Monica prepared the bottle with the bread softened in milk. Gabriel drank eagerly, holding Monica's finger tightly. He's strong, Emily observed. He is growing well. After feeding, Gabriel stayed awake for a while, looking at the 3 women who were taking care of him. Monica saw something in the baby's eyes that wasn't there before. Trust. Emily, Monica said, get those clean cloths over there. Emily brought the cloths Monica had washed the night before. They were old, some torn, but they were clean and soft. Let's make him some better blankets. The 3 sat on the floor. Monica taught the girls to fold the cloths in a way that would make them warmer and softer. Like this, Monica showed, making a special fold. It's like a little jacket. Emily tried to imitate. Like this. That's right. You're learning fast. Grace watched intently. Can I try too? Of course. They spent the whole afternoon preparing improvised clothes and blankets for Gabriel. With each cloth folded and carefully arranged, the baby gained more comfort. Ready, Monica said, placing one of the blankets over Gabriel. Now he won't be cold anymore. The baby snuggled into the soft blanket and closed his eyes, sighing contentedly. He liked it, Grace said, smiling. When night fell, Gabriel was restless. He cried softly, but nothing seemed to calm him. Bottle, clean diaper, cuddles, nothing worked. What could be wrong with him? Emily asked, worried. Sometimes babies are like this, Monica explained. They need a little more attention. Grace sat next to the box. Can I sing to him? Yes, you can. Grace began to hum a song that Monica always sang to them when they were little. Her voice was sweet and low. Sleep, sleep, my boy. Sleep, for night has come. Mommy is right here, and God in heaven has blessed you. Gabriel stopped crying immediately. He opened his eyes and looked at Grace, as if listening to the song. Can I keep going? Emily whispered. Grace continued singing, inventing verses. Sleep, sleep, Gabriel. Now you have a family, 2 sisters and a mommy, who love you every day. The baby relaxed completely. His little eyes slowly closed until he fell into a deep sleep. It worked, Emily said, impressed. You sing very well, Monica praised. Grace blushed with pride. He really liked it. From that night on, it became a routine. Whenever Gabriel was restless, Grace would sing to him, and it always worked. A week later, Monica got a job cleaning a large house on the other side of town. The pay would be little, but enough to buy real food. You 2 stay and take care of Gabriel, Monica said before leaving. You know what to do. Don't worry, Mum, Emily said. We'll take good care of him. When Monica returned at the end of the day, she found a scene that made her stop at the door. Emily was sitting on the floor with Gabriel in her lap, showing him pictures from an old book they had found. Grace was beside her, making funny faces to make the baby laugh. Gabriel wasn't just well, he was happy. "How was your day?" Monica asked. "He hardly cried," Emily said. "And look." Emily made a face, and Gabriel smiled, a small but genuine smile. "He's smiling," Monica exclaimed. "It started this morning," Grace said. "First it was just a little bit, then it got easier." Monica approached and picked Gabriel up. The baby looked at her and smiled again, as if recognizing her. "Hi, Gabriel, you're so handsome." That night, Monica looked at her two daughters sleeping on the floor next to Gabriel's box. The baby was also sleeping, peaceful and safe. They didn't have much. The house was small. Food was scarce. Clothes were old. But they had something many rich people didn't: true love. Monica remembered when the girls were babies like that. She also had nothing back then, but she gave them everything she could: affection, attention, protection, and look how they grew up, kind, caring, full of love to give. Now Gabriel would have that too. He wouldn't grow up in a mansion. He wouldn't have expensive toys or designer clothes, but he would grow up knowing he was loved unconditionally. Monica gently touched the baby's face. He sighed in his sleep, content. "Sometimes those who have the least offer the most," Monica murmured to herself. It was true. She and the girls had no money, no luxury, no financial security, but they had immense hearts, and they were offering everything they had to that abandoned baby. Gabriel stirred in his sleep and smiled, as if having a good dream. Monica smiled too. He was being reborn there in that small and simple shack, far from the eyes of the world, invisible to those who had much but offered little. In the silence of that poor house, love grew stronger than any wealth. Gabriel was home, and home, Monica knew well, wasn't a place. It was where you were truly loved. Gabriel had been with them for 2 weeks. That morning, Monica managed to sell some good condition fruits they found and earned enough money to buy real powdered milk. "Let's all go together," Monica said, picking up Gabriel. "I need help carrying things." Emily and Grace were excited. They rarely went out all together for a walk. Gabriel also seemed to enjoy leaving the house. He stayed awake, looking at everything with curiosity. They walked to the city center, where the bigger stores were. Powdered milk cost less at a large supermarket, and Monica wanted to save every penny. "Look how many people," Grace said, impressed by the busy main streets. "Stay close to me," Monica requested, "so I don't want to lose you in the crowd." They bought the powdered milk, some fruits, and a packet of cookies for the girls. Gabriel slept throughout the shopping trip, lulled by the movement. On the way back, they decided to pass by the shopping street, where the girls liked to look at the window displays. They couldn't buy anything, but it was fun to dream. "Mom, can I look at the toys?" Emily asked, stopping in front of a colorful store. "You can, but quickly. Gabriel will wake up and want to feed." The girls pressed their noses against the toy store window. Monica stood beside them, watching Gabriel sleep in her arms. "What a beautiful doll," Grace sighed, pointing to a doll with curly hair. "One day we'll have new toys," Emily said, always optimistic. "Yes, you will," Monica agreed, although she didn't know when that would be possible. They continued walking and stopped in front of an electronics store. In the display window, several televisions showed different programs. One of them was showing news. "Look at the televisions," Grace said. "They're huge." Emily was fascinated by the bright colors of the screens. "Could we just stand here and watch for a bit?" "You can," Monica said, "but just for a little bit." The girls leaned against the window, watching the programs without sound. Monica also looked distracted, cradling Gabriel. On the middle TV screen, a picture of a man in a suit appeared, speaking seriously to the cameras. Below the image, a sentence scrolled, "Businessman offers reward for missing son." Monica wasn't paying much attention until the image changed. The picture of a baby appeared on the screen. Monica felt her blood run cold. It was Gabriel. The same little face, the same dark eyes, the same expression. There was no possible doubt. "My God," Monica whispered, unable to take her eyes off the screen. "What's wrong, Mom?" Emily asked, noticing her mother's frightened tone. Monica couldn't answer. She continued looking at the television, waiting to better understand what was happening. The image returned to the man in the suit. Below, his name appeared, Robert Hale, businessman. Monica had never heard of him, but from the way he was dressed and the background behind him, he seemed to be a very rich man. "Mom, are you okay?" Grace insisted. "Yes, I am," Monica lied, trying to compose herself. "Let's go." "Already?" "We barely started watching. Gabriel will wake up. It's better if we go." The girls obeyed, but Monica noticed that Emily looked at her suspiciously. The girl was smart and always noticed when something was wrong. Throughout the walk back, Monica remained silent. Her mind raced, trying to process what she had seen. Gabriel was the son of a rich businessman. Someone was looking for him, offering a reward. How had he ended up in the trash behind the market? Had someone kidnapped him and then abandoned him? Or was there another explanation? "Mom, you're very quiet," Emily observed when they got close to home. "I'm just tired." But Emily didn't believe her. When they entered the shack, she pulled Grace aside and whispered something in her sister's ear. Grace looked at Monica with concern. Monica put Gabriel in his box and prepared a bottle. The baby woke up right on time, as he always did. He smiled at Monica and stretched out his little arms. "Hi, Gabriel," Monica said, but her voice sounded different. The baby looked at her as if he sensed that something had changed. His dark eyes seemed to ask questions Monica didn't know how to answer. "Mom," Emily said, approaching, "did something happen when we were looking at the televisions?" Monica hesitated. The girls were young, but they deserved to know the truth. "Sit here," Monica said, pointing to the mattress. Emily and Grace sat beside their mother. Gabriel drank peacefully, oblivious to the conversation. "Did you see that man on TV?" "The one in the suit?" Grace asked. "That's him. He was talking about a missing baby." Emily frowned. "So?" Monica took a deep breath. The baby in the picture was Gabriel. The silence that followed was heavy. Emily and Grace looked at Gabriel, then at Monica, trying to understand. "Does that mean," Emily began, "that someone is looking for him?" Monica finished. "The man on TV?" Grace asked. "It seems so. He said he's the father." Grace approached Gabriel and touched his little face. "But he's our brother now." "Grace, he is, Mom. We took care of him. We saved him. He's part of our family." Emily was more serious. "If that man is his father, we can't keep him, can we?" Monica felt her chest tighten. "It's complicated, Emily." "But we didn't do anything wrong," Grace said, her eyes full of tears. "We just took care of him when he was abandoned." "I know, love." "I did everything right." Gabriel finished feeding, and Monica put him on her shoulder to burp him. The baby was completely relaxed, confident in her lap. "What are we going to do?" Emily asked. That was the question Monica didn't know how to answer. If they told anyone they had Gabriel, he would be taken away. If they didn't, they would be hiding someone else's son. "For now, don't tell anyone," Monica finally said. "Not yet." "For how long?" "I don't know. I need to think." Grace snuggled into Monica's lap, on the opposite side from where Gabriel was. "Won't he remember us when he leaves?" Monica felt her eyes fill with tears. "He will remember. He'll always remember that you saved him." "But I don't want him to leave," Grace cried. Emily was also crying, though she tried to hide it. Can we at least keep him a little longer?" Monica looked at Gabriel, who had fallen asleep on her shoulder. The baby breathed peacefully, completely at peace. In the past 2 weeks, he had become part of the family in a way Monica never imagined possible. "A little longer," Monica promised, knowing it was a promise she might not be able to keep. That night, after the girls fell asleep, Monica stayed awake, watching Gabriel sleep. The baby was different from when they found him. Stronger, healthier, happier. He had gained weight and his skin had a rosy color, indicating he was well cared for. He had been reborn in their arms, but now Monica knew he had another life, another family waiting for him. Robert Hale. The name echoed in Monica's head, a rich, powerful man who probably had resources she would never dream of having. Gabriel could have a good life with him, education, comfort, opportunities, but would it be a life with love? Monica gently touched Gabriel's face. The baby sighed in his sleep and smiled, as he always did when he felt her affection. "What do I do, little one?" Monica whispered. "How do I let you go?" Gabriel didn't answer, just continued sleeping peacefully. But Monica knew the decision couldn't be postponed forever. At some point, she would have to choose between what she wanted and what was right. And that choice was beginning to weigh on her shoulders like an entire mountain. The weight of the choice settled, heavy and inevitable, in the heart of a mother who had learned to love a child who was never truly hers. Monica spent the entire night sleepless. She sat on the floor, watching Gabriel sleep peacefully in his box. The baby breathed softly, unaware that his life was about to change completely. In the early morning, she made her decision. When the sun rose, Monica gently woke the girls. "Emily, Grace, wake up!" Both opened their eyes and immediately looked at Gabriel, as they always did upon waking. "Is he okay?" Grace asked, still sleepy. "He is. But we need to talk." Emily sat up in bed, more awake. "It's about yesterday, isn't it? About the man on TV?" Monica nodded. "It is." Grace also sat up, still confused. "What man?" "Gabriel's father," Emily explained. Grace's little face filled with fear. "Are we going to have to give him back?" Monica took a deep breath. "Yes, Grace, we are." "No!" Grace immediately began to cry. "He's our brother. We took care of him." "I know, love. But he has a family looking for him." "We are his family now," Grace insisted, tears streaming down her face. Emily was calmer, but Monica saw that she was also fighting back tears. "We don't have a choice, do we, Mum?" "We don't, Emily. It would be wrong to keep him knowing someone is looking for him." Grace threw herself into Monica's lap, sobbing. "But I love him. He's my little brother." Monica hugged her daughter, feeling her own heart break. "I know you love him. We all do. But sometimes loving means letting go." "I don't understand," Grace cried. "It means we want what's best for him, even if it's hard for us." Emily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "So when are we taking him? Today?" "Today?" Grace looked up, desperate. "But it's too soon." "It's not soon, Grace. In fact, it should have been sooner." Gabriel woke up to the sound of Grace's crying. He opened his little eyes and looked at the three of them as if sensing something was different. "Hi, Gabriel," Grace said, trying to stop crying. "Good morning, little brother." Gabriel smiled at her, that sweet smile that always melted Monica's heart. "Will he remember us?" Grace asked, picking Gabriel up. "I don't know," Monica answered honestly. "He's still very small." "But we'll remember him," Emily said, touching the baby's tiny hand, "and always." "Always," Grace agreed, kissing Gabriel's forehead. Monica prepared the last bottle for Gabriel. While he drank, she explained to the girls how it would be. "We're taking him to the police station. They'll call his father there." "And then?" Emily asked. "Then he goes home, and we'll never see him again." Monica didn't know how to answer. "Maybe not, Grace." Grace started crying again. Emily also couldn't hold back her tears. "Can I give him a bath one last time?" Grace asked. "Yes, you can." The girls bathed Gabriel with all the care in the world. They washed every little finger, every crease. Gabriel seemed to enjoy the extra attention. He laughed and played in the warm water. "You're a very special baby," Emily said, rinsing his hair. "Don't forget us, okay?" Gabriel splashed his little hands in the water, splashing the girls. They laughed, even with their eyes red from crying so much. Monica separated the cleanest clothes they had. For Gabriel, she chose the best condition little shirt and the newest diaper. For them, the clothes they only wore on special occasions. "So why do we have to get dressed up?" Grace asked. "Because we're going to meet important people," Monica explained. "And because I want them to see that you are polite and well cared for girls." Emily understood. "So they don't think bad of us." Exactly. They dressed Gabriel with affection. He was beautiful, clean, with rosy and healthy skin. Anyone who looked at him would see that he had been very well cared for. "Ready," Monica said, picking up Gabriel. "Let's go." "Wait," Grace said. "Can I give him a goodbye kiss?" "You can." Grace kissed Gabriel's forehead. "I love you, little brother. You were the best gift we ever received." Emily also kissed the baby. "Be happy, Gabriel. And grow strong." Monica felt her eyes fill with tears, but she controlled herself. She needed to be strong for the girls. They left the house in silence. The walk to the police station seemed both eternal and too fast. Gabriel slept for almost the entire journey, waking only when they arrived at the building's door. "It's here," Monica said, looking at the large, intimidating building. "I'm scared," Grace whispered. "You don't need to be scared. We didn't do anything wrong." They entered the police station. The reception was large, with several people waiting. Monica approached the counter. "Excuse me," she said to the officer behind the counter. "Yes. We found a baby. I think he's the baby being shown on television." The officer looked at Gabriel in Monica's arms, then at the girls. One moment, he called another officer, who approached. He was an older man with a gentle face. "I'm Officer Ramirez," he said. "You found a baby?" "Yes, sir, 2 weeks ago." Officer Ramirez looked at Gabriel carefully. "Okay, can you come with me, please?" He led them to a smaller, more private room. He offered them chairs to sit down. "Can you tell me how you found him?" Monica told the whole story, how the girls went out to look for food, how they heard the crying, how they found Gabriel abandoned in the trash. "And since then you've been taking care of him?" Officer Ramirez asked. "Yes, sir. We bathed him, fed him, gave him affection. He was very weak when we found him." Officer Ramirez observed Gabriel, who was awake and alert in Monica's arms. "He seems very well cared for." "We did the best we could," Emily said. "I see that. You did an excellent job." Grace cried softly. "We didn't want to give him back, but we know it's the right thing to do." Officer Ramirez looked at the three of them with respect. "You are very brave, and you did the right thing." "Does his father know yet?" Monica asked. "I'm calling him right now. He'll come pick up his son." Monica nodded, though she felt her heart tighten. "You can wait here, it won't take long." Officer Ramirez left the room. Monica and the girls were left alone with Gabriel. "This is it for real," Emily said, her voice trembling. Grace couldn't stop crying. "I don't want him to leave." Monica passed Gabriel to Emily's lap. "Stay with him a little longer." Emily hugged Gabriel as if it were the last time. The baby looked at her with curiosity, as if he sensed that something important was happening. "You're very special, you know," Emily said to Gabriel. "We love you very much." Grace approached and touched Gabriel's foot. "When you grow up, remember us, okay? Remember your first sisters." Gabriel made a soft gurgle, as if trying to answer. They stayed like that for an hour, taking turns holding Gabriel, enjoying their last moments together. Then Officer Ramirez returned. "He's here," he said simply. Monica's stomach clenched. "Already?" "He's outside. Can I bring him in?" Monica looked at the girls. Emily was hugging Gabriel. Grace was crying silently. "You can," Monica said. Officer Ramirez left and returned a few minutes later with a tall, well-dressed man, Robert Hale. Monica recognized him from television, but in person he seemed even more imposing. Robert entered the room expecting to find criminals, kidnappers, dangerous people. Instead, he saw a young woman and two small children, all clean and neat, heads held high. He stopped at the door, clearly confused. "Was it you?" he asked, looking from Monica to the girls. Emily stood up, still holding Gabriel. "He was alone, sir. In the trash. We took care of him." Robert looked at his son in the girl's arms. Gabriel was visibly well cared for, healthy, clean. He didn't look like a child who had been mistreated. "You took care of him?" "Yes, sir," Grace said, wiping her eyes. "We bathed him, fed him, sang to him to sleep. He's a very good boy." Robert slowly approached. Gabriel looked at him without fear, curious. "He's different," Robert murmured. "More strong. He was very weak when we found him," Emily explained. "But he improved a lot." Monica stood up. "Yeah, we just took care of him, sir, because it was the right thing to do." Robert looked at Monica. There was something in her posture, in the way she spoke, that impressed him, dignity, even in poverty. "Do you know who I am?" Robert asked. "We saw it on TV," Monica replied. "You're his father." Robert held out his arms. Emily hesitated for a moment, then handed Gabriel to him. The baby remained quiet in his father's arms, but his eyes searched for Emily and Grace. "How much do you want?" Robert asked suddenly. "What do you mean?" Monica frowned. "The reward." "How much?" Monica looked at her daughters, then back at Robert. "We don't want anything, sir." "Nothing?" "No, sir. We just did what was right." Robert was silent for a few seconds, clearly surprised. "But you took care of my son. You saved his life." "Anyone would do the same," Monica said. "No," Robert said softly. "Not everyone would." He looked at Gabriel, who was now crying softly, as if missing the girl's lapse. "He got attached to you." "And we got attached to him," Grace said, a new tear rolling down her cheek. "But we know he's your son." Robert looked at those three people who had taken care of his son without expecting anything in return. This deeply disturbed him. How was it possible? They were clearly poor. They lived in conditions he couldn't even imagine. And yet they wanted nothing. "I don't understand," Robert said with a harsher tone. "You're in need and you want nothing in return." Monica looked him directly in the eyes. "No, sir. We don't." Robert felt almost indignant. It made no sense to him. In his experience, everyone always wanted something. "But this is impossible." "Everyone wants something. We just want him to be happy," Grace said simply. Robert shook his head as if he couldn't process it. "You took care of my son for 2 weeks. You spent money you didn't have, and you want nothing." "We just did what was right," Monica repeated. "What was right?" Robert almost yelled. "You don't know me. You don't know if I deserve to have my son back." Officer Ramirez shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The girls were startled by Robert's tone. Monica, however, remained calm. "You are his father. That's enough." Robert stared at her, completely disconcerted. In his head, all of this was impossible. Gabriel cried louder now. Emily cautiously approached. "Can I calm him down? He likes it when we sing." Robert hesitated, still annoyed, but eventually nodded. Emily began to hum softly the same song Grace always sang. Gabriel immediately calmed down, looking at her with complete trust. Robert observed the scene and felt something strange in his chest, a mixture of confusion, anger, and something he couldn't identify. "You," he began, but his voice failed. Monica stood up. "We're going, sir. Gabriel is safe now. That's all that matters." "Wait," Robert said, still trying to understand. "I've never seen people like you." "We're ordinary people," Monica said. "We just did what anyone would do." "No," Robert exploded. "Not anyone would. Most people would want something." Monica looked at him with an expression Robert couldn't decipher. It wasn't fear, it wasn't anger. It was something like pity. "Perhaps you know the wrong kind of people," Monica said softly. And for the first time in his life, Robert Hale, a man who thought he knew the whole world, was completely speechless. Robert arrived at the mansion in silence. The driver tried to talk during the ride, but he didn't respond. He was absorbed, holding Gabriel in his lap, reliving every moment at the police station. The house was immense and empty as always. 30 rooms, 10 bathrooms, a pool no one used. Gabriel seemed frightened by the size of the rooms and began to cry. Sure, it's okay," Robert murmured, but his voice sounded strange even to himself. Gabriel wouldn't calm down. He cried as if he missed something, or someone. Robert tried to rock the baby, as he had seen Emily do, but Gabriel kept crying. He tried to talk to him as Monica did, but nothing worked. "What do you want?" Robert asked, starting to get desperate. It was then that he remembered the song Emily had sung to Gabriel at the police station, and he calmed down immediately. Robert tried to hum something, but he didn't know any lullabies. He had never needed to know. Gabriel cried for almost an hour until he finally fell asleep from exhaustion in his father's arms. Robert placed him in the expensive crib he had ordered weeks ago. Gabriel seemed lost there, so small in that enormous crib, in the gigantic room, in the soulless house. For the first time, Robert realized how cold everything there was. He went down to the living room and poured himself a whiskey. He sat in the leather armchair that cost more than most people earned in a year and stared into space. Monica's words echoed in his head. "Perhaps you know the wrong kind of people." Robert took a sip and tried to remember the last time someone had done something for him without expecting anything in return. He couldn't. His entire life was made of exchanges. He gave money, he received services. He gave expensive gifts, he received false gratitude. He made donations, he received public recognition. But those 3 women, a mother and 2 children, had taken care of his son for 2 weeks without asking for absolutely anything. "It doesn't make sense," Robert murmured to himself. But it did. Robert knew it did. He just had never seen it before. He had never wanted to see it. He took another sip and looked around the room. Expensive paintings on the walls, furniture that cost fortunes, art objects that only served to impress visitors. And yet, Gabriel had cried when he arrived there, as if he knew that place was not a home. Robert got up and walked through the empty house. His footsteps echoed in the enormous corridors. 30 rooms, and he felt like the loneliest man in the world. He went upstairs to see Gabriel. The baby was restless, moving a lot, as if having nightmares. When Gabriel was with Monica and the girls, he slept peacefully. Robert had seen it at the police station. The peace on the baby's face when he was in their arms. He sat in an armchair beside the crib and watched his son. "They took better care of you in 2 weeks than I'll be able to in years," Robert murmured. The truth hurt. Robert had all the money in the world to give Gabriel. The best schools, the best clothes, the best doctors. But he didn't know how to give what Gabriel really needed. Love, care, presence. Monica had nothing, and yet she had given everything. Robert remembered the expression on Monica's face when she said they just did what was right. There was no false pride, no pretense. It was just truth. The purest truth Robert had ever encountered. He went down to the living room again and started pacing. His mind couldn't stop. He remembered how many times he had passed by people like Monica on the street. Beggars, garbage collectors, poor families waiting for buses. He always looked away. "People like that," he used to say, when an assistant mentioned social programs, as if they were a different category of human beings. Robert stopped pacing. The realization hit him like a punch to the stomach. He had never seen people like that as people. For Robert, there were people like him, his partners, his social class, and there were the others. The others weren't really relevant. They were scenery, problems for the government to solve, statistics. But Monica wasn't a statistic. Emily and Grace weren't problems. They were the most human people Robert had ever met. "My God," Robert whispered, sitting heavily in the armchair. The shame he felt was physical. It hurt in his chest, burned in his throat. They saved my son, and I never saw people like that as people." Robert covered his face with his hands. 45 years of life, and he had never felt so small. Gabriel began to cry upstairs. Robert ran up, but when he reached the room, he realized he didn't know what to do. He picked Gabriel up, but the baby continued crying. He checked his diaper, offered a bottle, tried to rock him, but nothing worked. "What do you want?" Robert asked, exhausted. Gabriel looked at him with those dark eyes, the same eyes that had looked at Emily and Grace with so much love and trust. And Robert understood. Gabriel missed them. That few-month-old baby had spent 2 weeks being loved in a way Robert never knew how to love, and now he was lost, just like Robert. "I don't know how to do this," Robert admitted to his son. "I don't know how to be a father," but they knew how to be family. Robert spent the entire night sleepless. Sometimes he walked through the empty house, sometimes he sat by Gabriel's crib, trying to process everything that had happened. With each passing hour, the shame grew. He remembered meetings where he talked about human resource optimization, firing hundreds of people as if they were numbers on a spreadsheet. He remembered parties where he spent in one night what Monica probably didn't see in years. He remembered how he complained when he had to pass by poor neighborhoods. "Depressing place," he used to say. But Monica and the girls lived in those places, and they had more joy, more kindness, more humanity than anyone who frequented Robert's social circles. In the morning, Gabriel woke up crying again. Robert tried everything, but the baby was inconsolable. It was then that he remembered the song Grace sang. He tried to hum something similar, but his voice came out harsh, without affection. Gabriel cried harder, as if he sensed that it wasn't the same thing. Robert sat on the floor of the room, still holding Gabriel, and for the first time in decades, he cried too. He cried for his own ignorance. He cried for having spent his whole life without seeing what really mattered. He cried for Gabriel, who deserved so much more than a father who didn't know how to love. "I'm so sorry," he said to Gabriel, although he knew the baby didn't understand. "I'm so sorry it took me so long to understand." Gabriel slowly calmed down, perhaps sensing the sincerity in his father's voice. Robert stayed there on the floor for a long time, holding his son, thinking of Monica and the girls. They had changed his life in a matter of minutes, not with pretty words or elaborate speeches, but simply by being themselves, real people. Around noon, Robert made a decision. He picked up the phone and called his personal assistant. "Johnson, I need you to investigate some people for me." "Of course, Mr. Hale. Any problem?" "No. On the contrary, I need to know everything about them." Robert gave the names Monica, Emily, and Grace. He said they were at the police station yesterday, and that they probably lived near the market where Gabriel was found. "I want to know where they live, how they live, what they need, everything." "May I ask why, sir?" Robert looked at Gabriel, who was finally sleeping peacefully in his arms, "Because they taught me something I never learned on my own." "What was that, sir?" "How to be human." Johnson was silent for a few seconds, clearly confused. "I'll get the information for you, Mr. Hale." "Thank you, and Johnson." "Yes, sir." "Be discreet. I don't want to scare them." Robert hung up and looked back at Gabriel. A change was beginning within him. Slow, painful, but definitive. For the first time in his life, Robert Hale wanted to be a better person. And all because of 3 women who asked for nothing, but gave everything. Johnson called back 3 hours later. "Mr. Hale, I have the information you requested." Robert picked up a pen and paper. "Tell me everything." "Monica Silver, 30 years old, works as a cleaning lady when she can find a job. Has twin daughters, Emily and Grace, 5 years old. They live in a shack in Villa San Jose, West Periphery." Robert wrote down every word. "The situation is complicated, sir. They live on less than $200 a month. They don't have running water. The electricity is makeshift. The children are not enrolled in school because they couldn't get a spot." Robert stopped writing. $200 a month. He spent more than that on a lunch. Continue. "Monica lost her steady job 3 months ago. Since then, She survives by doing sporadic cleaning jobs. Neighbors say she's very hard-working, that the girls are well-behaved. They never asked anyone for help. Of course they didn't ask, Robert murmured. Sir, nothing. Anything else? Just that. Well, it's impressive how they managed to live on so little and still seem dignified, you know. The neighbors speak very highly of them. Robert ended the call and stared at his notes. $200 a month. No running water. No school for the girls. And yet they had shared that misery with Gabriel without thinking twice. Robert looked around his office. A desk that cost $50,000. A painting that cost more than Monica would earn in 5 years. And he complained when his coffee was cold. Gabriel woke up and started crying again. This time, Robert didn't try to calm him with music or rocking. He simply held his son to his chest and said, "I promise I'll learn. I promise I'll be better. For you and for them." Gabriel stopped crying and looked at his father as if he understood. Robert knew he had a lot to learn. About being a father, about being human, about what truly mattered in life. But for the first time, he was willing to learn. The change had begun. 2 days after receiving the report about Monica and the girls, Robert made a decision that he himself couldn't fully explain. He exchanged his expensive suit for simpler clothes. He left his driver at home, dismissed the security guards, and drove himself to the city's west periphery. He had never been to that part of town. The streets grew narrower, the houses simpler, until he reached a place that could barely be called a street. It was a cluster of shacks, one clinging to the next, without urban planning. Children played in the dirt road, women hung laundry on makeshift lines. Robert stopped the car and got out. Some people looked with curiosity at the well-dressed man who had appeared there. "So excuse me," he said to an old woman carrying a basin of clothes. "Do you know where Monica Silva lives?" The woman looked at him suspiciously. "Why do you want to know?" "She helped me with something. I want to thank her." The woman pointed to a shack at the end of the street. "It's there. But be careful, she doesn't like strange men visiting." Robert thanked her and walked to the shack. It was even smaller than he imagined after reading the report. Much smaller. The entire house couldn't have been more than 15 square meters. The walls were old wood. The roof had some broken tiles. A curtain served as a door. Robert took a deep breath and knocked on the wood that served as a door frame. "Who is it?" a child's voice shouted from inside. "Emily. Grace? It's me. Robert. Gabriel's father." He heard whispers and footsteps. The curtain slowly moved aside, and Emily appeared, looking at him with surprise and a little fear. "What are you doing here, sir?" "Can I come in?" "I need to talk to you." Emily hesitated, looked back, then opened the curtain wider. "Mom's not here. She went out to look for work." Robert entered the shack and felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. The entire space was smaller than his suite's bathroom. There was no furniture except a mattress on the floor and a small table made of wooden crates. The floor was packed dirt. The walls had holes covered with cardboard pieces. In the corner, a 2-burner stove precariously balanced on bricks. Beside it, an old refrigerator that made a deafening noise. On the makeshift clothes line, 3 clothes drying, all patched, all visibly worn for years. Grace was sitting on the mattress, holding a rag doll that looked like it had been hand-stitched with scraps. "Where's your mother?" Robert asked, still trying to process what he was seeing. "She left early to look for work," Emily replied. "Said she wouldn't be back until afternoon." Robert looked around again. Here Gabriel had been cared for. In that space that barely fit 3 people, they had made room for 1 more. "Did you live here when you took care of Gabriel?" "Yes, sir," Grace said timidly. "Where did he sleep?" Emily pointed to a specific corner. "Mom made a little bed with a cardboard box right there. She lined it with the softest cloths we had." Robert looked at the corner and tried to imagine Gabriel sleeping there, in a cardboard box, on the dirt floor, being more loved than he ever was in the mansion. "Why did you do that?" Robert asked, more to himself than to the girls. "Do what?" Emily asked. "Take care of him." You didn't have space and you didn't have extra money. Why did you take care of Gabriel? Grace dropped the doll and looked at Robert as if the question were strange. Because he needed it. That's it. What do you mean? That's it. Emily frowned. He was a baby, alone. Abandoned. So of course we were going to take care of him. Robert sat heavily on the only stool in the shack. His legs were trembling. The weight of his own privilege was crushing him. You shared your food with him. Uh-huh, Grace said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Babies need to eat. But you already had so little. So what? Emily shrugged. We always manage. Robert covered his face with his hands. Here in that 15-square-meter shack, he had found more generosity than in his entire life of luxury. Sir, are you okay? Grace asked, concerned. Robert looked at the two girls. Emily, at 5 years old, spoke with the maturity of an adult. Grace, also 5 years old, worried about a rich man who had appeared at her house. They had more wisdom and kindness than he had managed to accumulate in 45 years. He heard footsteps outside. The curtain moved aside, and Monica entered, stopping immediately when she saw Robert sitting on the stool. Mr. Hale, her voice came out startled. What? How did you get here? Monica quickly closed the curtain and stood near the entrance, clearly uncomfortable. I came because you didn't ask for anything, Robert said, slowly getting up. And because of that, you deserve everything. Monica looked at him suspiciously. I don't understand. Robert looked around the shack again. The clothes line with 3 patched clothes. The packed dirt floor. The makeshift stove that looked like it would collapse at any moment. And he realized that there was more dignity there than in his entire mansion. I came here to see how you live, Robert said. And now I understand even more what you did for Gabriel. Monica crossed her arms. I'm still suspicious. We just took care of him. We didn't do anything extraordinary. You did everything, Robert said. You gave love, time, space, food, things you didn't have to spare. Anyone would do the same. No, Monica, not everyone would. Robert walked to the small window and looked outside. Other similar houses, other families struggling to survive. How many people pass by here every day? Robert asked. Many. Why? How many stop to help when they see someone in need? Monica didn't answer immediately. Emily and Grace also remained quiet. Few, Monica finally admitted. You are different. And that made me realize how wrong I've been my whole life. Robert turned to Monica. Ois, I came here to make you an offer. What kind of offer? Monica grew even more tense. Robert took a deep breath. I went home after the police station and couldn't stop thinking about you. About how you took care of Gabriel. About how you asked for nothing. And I realized that you deserve much more than you have. Monica shook her head. We don't want charity, Mr. Hale. It's not charity, Robert said firmly. It's justice. Robert took some papers from his pocket. Monica looked suspiciously. You returned my most precious possession, Robert said, and you asked for nothing in return. This isn't charity, Monica, it's justice. What are these papers? Deed to a house. Simple but safe. 3 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, in a neighborhood with a good public school. Monica's eyes widened. Mr. Hale, Let me finish, Robert asked. There's more. He took out other documents. Enrollment for the girls in a private school near the new house, all paid for. Health insurance for the 3 of you. And a bank account with enough money for you to live with dignity. Monica turned pale. I can't accept this. Why not? Because it's too much. We didn't do anything to deserve all this. Didn't do anything. Robert looked at Emily and Grace, then back at Monica. You saved my son. You showed me what it means to be truly human. Monica shook her head, tears in her eyes. But this is a lot of money. A lot. For me, it's a fraction of what I spend on useless things every month, Robert said honestly. For you, it's a chance at a better life. Grace approached Monica. Mum, is he serious? Monica looked at her daughter, then at Emily, then at Robert. Mr. Hale, I've always managed on my own. I've always taken care of the girls without asking for anyone's help. I know. And that's exactly why you deserve this." Monica covered her face with her hands and began to cry. They weren't tears of sadness, but of relief, of hope, of deep gratitude. Emily hugged her mother. "Don't cry, Mom." "I'm not crying from sadness," Monica said, trying to control herself. "I'm crying because I never thought something like this could happen to us." Robert approached and held out the papers to Monica. "Do you accept?" Monica looked at the documents, then at her daughters. Emily and Grace watched her with hope in their eyes. "For them," Monica finally said, taking the papers. "For them, I accept." Robert smiled for the first time in days. "They deserve to have a future, Monica, and you deserve to have peace." Monica hugged her daughters, all crying together. Robert watched the scene and felt something he had never felt before, the satisfaction of doing the right thing, of recognizing the value of those who were never seen, of giving to those who gave everything without expecting anything. "When can we see the house?" Emily asked, still hugging her mother. "Right now, if you want," Robert replied. Grace jumped for joy. "Really? Really?" Monica wiped her eyes and looked at Robert with an expression he would never forget. Pure gratitude, without falseness, without self-interest, without pretense. "Thank you," Monica said simply, and Robert knew that word was worth more than any praise, any award, any recognition he had ever received, because it came from the heart of someone who knew the true value of things, from someone who finally had visibility, from someone who deserved everything. A week later, Robert returned to the shack with the keys to the new house. Monica, Emily, and Grace were waiting for him at the door, dressed in their best clothes. "Ready to see your new home?" Robert asked, smiling. "Very ready," Grace shouted, jumping with excitement. Emily was more composed, but her eyes shone with anticipation. Monica still seemed to not believe it was real. Robert's car arrived a few minutes later. It was a simple model, not the limousine he normally used. He didn't want to draw unnecessary attention. During the ride, Grace pressed her nose against the window, pointing at everything she saw. "Look, Mom, look what a big street, and look how many trees." Emily was also impressed but tried to seem more mature. "It's far from here, isn't it?" "About 20 minutes, Robert replied, "but there's a direct bus. And a school nearby." Monica remained quiet for almost the entire trip, just observing the streets becoming more organized, the houses larger, the neighborhoods better maintained. "Mr. Hale," she finally said, "I still can't believe this is happening." "You can believe it. You deserve this and much more." When they arrived at the street of the new house, Grace was the first to get out of the car. It was a quiet street, with small but well-maintained houses, clean sidewalks, and trees lining them. "Is this it?" Emily asked, looking around. "It's here," Robert confirmed, stopping in front of a simple 2-story house, painted light blue with a white gate. Monica put her hand over her mouth, emotional. "It's beautiful." Robert opened the gate and they entered the small front garden. It had well-tended grass and some planted flowers. "Can we go in?" Grace asked. Robert handed the key to Monica. "The house is yours, you open it." Monica took the key with a trembling hand. She opened the front door and they all entered together. The living room was small but cozy. It had a sofa, a coffee table, a television, and a bookshelf with some books. Everything was simple but new and clean. "My God," Monica whispered. Emily and Grace ran to explore the house. "Mom, come see, there are 2 bedrooms upstairs," Emily shouted from the stairs. "And a bathroom just for us," Grace added. Monica went upstairs slowly, still in shock. Robert followed her, observing her reaction. The main bedroom was small but had a double bed, a wardrobe house and a simple dressing table. The girls' room had 2 single beds, 2 nightstands and another wardrobe. "Each of us will have our own bed?" Grace asked, amazed. "Yes, you will," Robert said, "and you can decorate them however you want." Emily opened the empty wardrobe and imagined her clothes inside. Grace tested the softness of the bed, laughing with joy. They went down to see the kitchen. It was small but functional, with a new refrigerator, a 4-burner stove, a sink with running water and some cabinets. Monica turned on the faucet and watched the water run. "Running water," she murmured, as if it were a miracle. "And hot too," Robert said. "There's a water heater." Monica started crying again. Emily and Grace ran to hug her. "Why are you crying, Mom?" Grace asked. "Isn't the house good?" "It's perfect," Monica said through tears. "It's more than I've dreamed of my whole life." The girls explored every corner of the house. They discovered that it had a small backyard, with a laundry sink and space to hang clothes. "Can I plant flowers?" Grace asked. "You can do whatever you want," Robert said. "The house is yours." They stayed in the new house until late afternoon. Monica couldn't stop looking at every detail, touching the walls as if to make sure it wasn't a dream. "When can we move in?" Emily asked. "Whenever you want. Tomorrow, if you prefer." Monica looked at Robert with immense gratitude in her eyes. "Emma, how can we thank you for something like this? You don't need to thank me, I need to thank you." Back at the shack to pick up some things, the girls were euphoric, talking about the new house, making plans. "I'm going to put my doll on the bedside table," Grace said. "And I'm going to organize our books on the living room shelf," Emily planned. But in the midst of their excitement, Grace suddenly fell silent. "Mom," she said, "I miss Gabriel." Emily also stopped talking. "Me too. Is he okay, do you think?" Monica looked at her daughters, then at Robert. "I'm sure he's well cared for." "But does he remember us?" Grace insisted. "Does he miss us?" Robert observed the genuine sadness on the girls' faces. They were happy with the new house, but they missed the baby they had cared for like a brother. "Do you want to see him?" Robert asked. "Can we?" Emily's eyes lit up. "Of course you can. He was your brother, wasn't he?" Grace jumped with joy. "When?" "How about tomorrow, after you move into the new house?" The girls eagerly agreed. Monica smiled, seeing her daughter's happiness. The next day, after settling into the new house, Robert appeared with Gabriel in his arms. Emily and Grace ran to the door as soon as they saw him arrive. "Gabriel!" Grace shouted. "It's Gabriel!" The two approached Robert, extending their arms for the baby. Gabriel, who had been quiet in his father's arms, immediately perked up when he saw the girls. He smiled, that wide smile that Robert had seen few times. "He remembered us," Emily said, emotional. Robert handed Gabriel to Emily. The baby snuggled into her lap as if he had never left. "Hi, little brother," Emily whispered. "We missed you." Grace kissed Gabriel's forehead. "You've grown. You're chubbier." Gabriel laughed, that delightful baby laugh. He patted Grace's face with his hands, playing. Robert watched the scene and felt something stir in his chest. The love there wasn't a discourse, it was presence. It was Emily adjusting Gabriel in her lap with the care of an experienced mother. It was Grace making faces to make the baby laugh. It was Monica approaching to gently touch his face. It was a family that blood had not formed, but love had created. "He is who he is because of them," Robert murmured to himself. Gabriel had learned to smile in Emily and Grace's arms. He had learned to trust in Monica's lap. He was a happy baby because he had been loved unconditionally in the first days of his life. "Can I hold him for a bit?" Grace asked. Emily passed Gabriel to her sister. The baby remained content, looking from one to the other as if recognizing every detail of their faces. "He's smarter," Grace observed. "Look how he pays attention to everything." Monica sat beside the girls on the new sofa. Gabriel stretched his little arms out to her, asking to be held. "Hi, little one," Monica said, picking up Gabriel. "You're so big and handsome." Gabriel snuggled into Monica's lap and closed his eyes, completely relaxing. Robert stood watching, moved by the scene. "He fell asleep," Emily whispered. "He sleeps better with you than with me," Robert admitted. "Why?" Grace asked. "Because you know how to love in a way I'm still learning." The girls stayed with Gabriel for 2 hours. They played with him, sang the songs he liked, and made him laugh many times. When it was time for Robert to take Gabriel away, the baby cried a little as he left Emily's arms. "Can I bring him to visit you more often?" Robert asked. "Please," the girls said in unison. "Whenever you want," Monica said. "He'll always be welcome here." Robert put Gabriel in his stroller and prepared to leave. But first, he looked at Monica. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" "For everything. I'm sorry I never saw you before. You taught me more than anyone in my life." Monica smiled. "We didn't teach you anything. We were just ourselves." "And that was everything," Robert said. The next day, Robert returned to the new house, this time without Gabriel, but with a folder of documents. "What is this?" Monica asked cautiously. "One more thing I want to do for you." Robert opened the folder and took out some papers. "I opened a bank account in Emily and Grace's names." "An account?" Emily frowned. "It's an educational and security fund," Robert explained. "Money that will be saved for when you grow up, for college, to start your lives, for whatever you need." Monica's eyes widened. "Mr. Hale, this is necessary," Robert interrupted. "I want them to have a future. Because they deserve it, and because they saved me too." "How so?" Emily asked. Robert knelt down to the girl's height. "You taught me how to be a better person. You showed me what truly matters in life. You saved me from continuing to be someone I didn't like." Grace touched Robert's face. "You are a good person. Now I am. Because of you." Robert handed the papers to Monica. She received them with trembling hands, reading the amounts with wide eyes. "This is a lot of money." "It's their future," Robert said. "I want them to study, to have opportunities, to be whatever they want to be." Monica started crying again, but this time they were different tears. They weren't tears of gratitude. They weren't tears of relief. They were tears of hope. For the first time in her life, Monica felt the weight of hope, the weight of knowing that her daughters would have chances she never had, that they could dream big, study, choose their paths. "Thank you," Monica said, hugging Robert. "So I thank you for seeing their worth." "Thank you for teaching me to see," Robert replied. Emily and Grace joined the hug, and there, in the simple living room of the new house, 4 people whom destiny had brought together sealed a friendship that would last forever. A friendship based on what truly matters: love, gratitude, and the certainty that everyone deserves to be seen and valued, especially those who never asked for anything, but gave everything. 7 months later, on a Monday morning, Monica woke up with a feeling she had never experienced before: true peace. She got out of her comfortable bed, in the room that was just hers, and went to the window. Outside, the street was waking up as it did every day. Neighbors leaving for work, children walking to school, a world that finally included them as part of it. "Girls, time to get up," she called, going up to their room. Emily was already awake, carefully making her bed. Grace was still sleepy but got up without complaining, stretching with a smile on her face. "Girls, time to get up," she called, going up to their room. Emily was already awake, carefully making her bed. Grace was still sleepy but got up without complaining, stretching with a smile on her face. "Today is presentation day for the project," Emily said, combing her own hair with a brush that was just hers. "And I'm going to show the drawing I made of our family," Grace said proudly. Monica smiled. Her daughters talked about school as if they had always belonged to that world, as if studying were the most natural thing in the universe. They went down for breakfast. The table was set with simple but abundant things: fresh bread, milk, fruit, butter, jelly. It wasn't luxury, but it was plenty compared to what they had before. "Mom, the teacher said I can participate in the math Olympiad," Emily said, spreading jelly on her bread. "How wonderful. You were always good with numbers." "And my teacher said my drawings are very beautiful," Grace added. "She said I have talent." Monica felt her chest swell with pride. Her daughters were discovering talents they never had a chance to show before. As the girls finished getting ready, Monica observed every detail of the morning. Emily putting on her navy blue private school uniform, the new, well-pressed fabric. Grace braiding her hair into two perfect pigtails, looking in the bathroom mirror that was just theirs. "Ready?" Monica asked. Both came down, Emily with her organized backpack, her neat notebooks. Grace with the new pencil case Robert had brought the week before. "You look beautiful," Monica said, adjusting the collar of Emily's shirt. "Do we look like normal girls now?" Grace asked. "You always were normal girls. Now everyone else can see that too." They left the house walking along the clean sidewalk. The school was a 15-minute walk, a safe route Monica made sure to accompany every day. During the walk, the girls talked about classes, friends, school projects. Monica listened in silence, marveling at how quickly they adapted to that new world. Sarah asked if she could come play at our house on Saturday. Grace said, "Of course she can. You can do your homework together." "And John said he wants to see our books," Emily said. "I told him we have many that Mr. Robert brought." They arrived at the school gate. Other children were also arriving, all neatly dressed, carrying backpacks, chatting animatedly. "Goodbye, Mom," Emily said, kissing Monica on the cheek. "Study hard and behave yourselves." "We always behave," Grace said, also kissing her mother. Monica stood at the gate watching her daughters enter the school. Emily helped Grace carry her backpack to the classroom door. Grace waved to Monica before disappearing down the hallway. For the first time, as girls with a future. The phrase echoed in Monica's mind like a beautiful song. That's exactly what she saw when she looked at her daughters now. Girls who had real prospects, achievable dreams, open paths ahead. "Good morning, Monica." She turned and saw Robert approaching on the sidewalk. He was casually dressed, carrying Gabriel in his arms. The baby, now 18 months old, was visibly bigger and more alert. "Good morning, Robert. You arrived at the perfect time." Gabriel, seeing Monica, immediately stretched out his little arms towards her. She picked him up, and he smiled that radiant smile he always made when he saw the people he loved. "Hi, my prince. You're so big." Gabriel laughed and tried to grab Monica's earring, babbling something that sounded almost like real words. "How does he talk yet?" Monica asked. "He says Mama, Papa, and something that sounds like Emmy," Robert replied, smiling. "I think he tries to say Emily." Monica smiled. "Of course he does. He loves the girls." Robert had developed a habit of visiting Monica's house 3 times a week, always bringing Gabriel, not out of obligation or guilt, but out of the genuine affection that had grown between all of them. They walked back home together. Gabriel kept pointing at everything along the way. Cars, trees, dogs, as if narrating the walk. "How was your weekend?" Robert asked. "Nice and peaceful. The girls did their homework, played in the yard, helped bake a cake. Simple things. The best things are always simple." They arrived home and settled into the cozy living room. Gabriel immediately got down from Monica's lap and began to walk around the house, exploring every corner. Now he walked steadily, always curious about everything. "Is he talking more?" Monica asked. "Much more. And he understands almost everything we say. Yesterday I asked him to get the teddy bear and he brought it perfectly." Gabriel approached Monica and raised his arms, asking to be held. She picked him up and he snuggled in, as if he were home. "He's always calmer here," Robert observed. "Because here he knows he's loved unconditionally." Robert watched Gabriel in Monica's lap. "You know, I was thinking." "About what?" "About how different his life would have been if you hadn't found him that day." Monica looked at Gabriel, who had fallen asleep in her arms. He would have been cared for differently. God always finds a way, but not the way you cared for him. With so much love. In the afternoon, when Emily and Grace returned from school, they found Robert and Gabriel waiting in the living room. The girls ran to hug their little brother. "Gabriel!" Grace shouted. "You came to wait for us!" Gabriel woke up right away and laughed with joy when he saw the girls. He stretched out his arms for Emily, who picked him up. "Hi, little brother. How was your day?" Gabriel babbled excitedly, as if telling everything he had done. "He's grown again," Emily observed. "Every week he's bigger." "And smarter," Grace added, making faces to make Gabriel laugh. The girls played with Gabriel until dinner time. Robert watched, always impressed by their infinite patience and natural affection. Gabriel would knock over toys. They would pick them up smiling. Gabriel would pull their hair. They would laugh and keep playing. Gabriel would get fussy. They would invent songs to calm him down. "True bonds don't need blood," Robert murmured to Monica as they watched the three children on the living room floor. "They just need care," Monica smiled. "That's right. We choose who our family is by heart. And I chose you forever." When it was time for Robert to take Gabriel away, the baby cried a little, but Emily sang softly to him and Gabriel calmed down, resting his head on his father's shoulder. "See you Wednesday," Emily promised, kissing her brother's forehead. "We'll be waiting," Grace said. Robert said goodbye and left with Gabriel. The girls waved from the window until the car disappeared around the corner. That night, after the girls went to sleep, Monica stayed in the living room organizing things and thinking about how her life had completely changed. 8 months ago, she woke up worried about what to eat the next day. Now she worried if the girls were happy at school. 8 months ago, the girls scavenged for survival. Now they did homework and participated in math Olympiads. 8 months ago, Monica couldn't imagine a different future. Now she saw Emily wanting to be a doctor, and Grace dreaming of being a teacher. The change had been profound, yet silent, gradual, yet complete. Robert continued to visit regularly. Gabriel grew up knowing 2 homes: the mansion where he lived and the simple house where he was loved without limits. Emily and Grace became excellent students. Emily discovered an impressive talent for science. Grace revealed a unique creativity for arts. Both grew up knowing they could dream as high as they wanted. Monica returned to study in the evening. She wanted a better profession, not out of necessity but for personal growth. Robert's transformation was perhaps the most beautiful of all. He learned that loving is a daily choice, not just a feeling. He learned that the most important things in life are priceless. 1 year after the encounter at the police station, they celebrated Gabriel's 2nd birthday at Monica's house. A simple party in the small backyard with homemade cake and decorations made by the girls. Gabriel spoke his first complete sentences that day. "Want sister," he said, extending his arms to Emily. Then he looked at Grace and said, "Love grandma," so confusing Monica with a loving grandmother. Everyone laughed and cried at the same time. Robert recorded every moment, knowing that those memories were more precious than any treasure. Years passed. Gabriel grew up dividing his time between 2 families who loved him. Emily graduated from medical school, always remembering that she wanted to take care of abandoned children. Grace became a teacher, dedicating her life to teaching underprivileged children. Monica finished her social work degree and began working with vulnerable families. Robert completely changed his way of doing business, creating social projects and always treating employees with dignity. But the most beautiful thing about this whole story was not the individual achievements. It was the continuity. Every Sunday, they gathered at Monica's house for lunch together. Gabriel, now a teenager, considered those meetings the most important time of the week. Emily and Grace, now adults, continued to be the most affectionate sisters he could have. Monica continued to be an example of unconditional love for everyone. Robert continued to learn every day how to be a better person. The good had been done with truth, and it continued to be done silently every day. Because some stories don't need a spectacular ending. The true beauty lies in the silent continuity, in the constancy of love, in the certainty that somewhere in the world, good people continue to take care of each other, simply because it's the right thing to do and because it's worth it, forever.